Welcome everybody to the Division 2 Grand Finals here for CCA League Season 6. Kyon, it has been quite the season that we have had here in Division 2. 52 playoff games have been played so far out of a possible maximum 54, which I believe is an all-time CCA League record. This is one for the ages, and it all comes down to one final best of 9. I'm DRF, joined by the one and only Kyon, and I mean, Kyon, I just, my excitement cannot be overstated.
I took a quick gander at Division 2 playoffs, and this has been a wild ride to say the least here, DRF, because you got two teams, Smash Brothers and H-Town Rebels, but I feel like the road leading up to Grand Finals for Division 2 has been crazy, to say the least.
Oh, crazy would be an understatement, whereas my excitement can't be overstated. So, I mean, just the way that this playoffs have gone down, we have had 4 9-game series and 2 8-game series, Smash Brothers being the only team to make it to semifinals that has not played into top 4 that has not played a 9th game so far. Whereas H-Town, on the flip side here, has gone back-to-back with Game 9s. So if you just kind of take a quick look at this bracket, the hype that everybody is feeling in this community for this upcoming matchup is electric. Everybody is expecting this to go as long as it can, and everyone wants to savor every single minute of it.
Selfishly, I would love this one to go the distance, but ultimately both teams will be the ones to dictate it all. And I mean, Smash Brothers out of Binghamton University, I got to cast their quarterfinals matchup, and they've been a lot of fun to watch. I'm curious to see what the H-Town Rebels, the University of Houston, does. DRFS, we're close to starting off Game 1 here in this Division 2 Grand Finals. Ramen Zone specifically, and I feel like this first map, especially in a best of 9, will help dictate how both teams will play.
Oh yeah, Splat Zone's Robo Ramen is such a good map to put some feelers out there, to really get an idea of what your opponent's going to be bringing out. It's going to be some great back and forth action, as this zone is going to be hotly contested between these two teams. And I'm just excited to see what they're ultimately going to be bringing out to start. Both teams, I believe, might be having some subs today. We'll have to double check on that. But again, it should be a really good set, because both rosters are relatively deep.
Yeah, both rosters relatively deep, as you mentioned here too. And with the way both these teams play, I feel, again, the way I've always seen this, you got the regular season that gets you into this playoff stage, but the way what we've mentioned before in the Division 2 brackets, just these long sets, 8 or 9 games, it has been entertaining from start to finish. I feel like this just tells us how Division 2 Grand Finals is all going to play out, which, by the way, DRF, I hope you continue that excitement. I hope my excitement definitely rises. We're on to Game 1. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I want to take a quick gander at the weapons here. Double swords, to say the least. Wiper and Decaf on the board here. I see a Flingza as well. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh man, we've got some spicy choices to start this one, indeed. I mean, the Flingza is out, the Decav, double Decav, we've got the heavy edit. I mean, everybody's gonna come out with a little bit of creativity here, with just the one mirror match between the Decav of all things. As early on, we are gonna see H-Town Rebels. They did get first control of the zone, but it's Smash Brothers with the heavier strike to start this one.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see not only the decav build that's gonna be in play. I've seen a lot of great decavs here in the CCA side. Which decav is gonna be the best one out of the bunch? That's gonna be the things I'm gonna keep an eye on. Heavy edit. This one is the crab variation. Love to see the crab here in Ramen Zones. That's gonna be excellent. I also love the Flingza pick as well. We're going to see a quick zones change here. H-Town's going to get the control of the zone here. So both teams honestly have a lot of paint and specials to work with to get zones in their own fashion. 3 members down on Smash Brothers though, and H-Town Rebels from an earlier cap that involved the Reef Slider and the Ultra Slam is going to get control of the zone. Now they're in prime position for the lockout here. DRF, let's see if they can continue.
They are in a good position. Those missiles coming down from the heavens, able to help try to zone out a couple players there. That does result in a 2-down situation. H-Town with the lead though, but Smash Brothers back in control of this zone, and it's the Heavy Edge getting 3 jumps in, and the Gal try to rush it down, see if they can find any easy pickings. Not going to be able to do so there, and the Dread Ring is going to be able to find some. It is an absolute bloodbath in mid right now, Kyon, as bodies are flying left and right, and H-Town comes out with the zone amidst all the chaos.
Amidst all the chaos is correct with the amount of control that H-Town has, and the fact that both teams right now knotted up in points rained and points cashed in. Now I gotta see how Smash Brothers has that response. They got the missiles, they got the ability to zone, and they know where the players are at any moment based on when and where they place those missiles. At that point, at this stage of the game, bubble gonna be used, by the way, from Smash Brothers, and that will continue the reinforcements up top. That will be the lockout, and once more, this could be a very quick lead change right away. The Wiper gonna go down, is gonna have other ideas. Decap as well down on Smash Brothers, and then lead does indeed change hands here, Giraffe. Back and forth we continue to go.
It is such a nail biter at this stage. Smash Brothers barely eking out the lead there, and we are just over the halfway point in this one, as Coulson gonna be bringing out the hit. I don't think they found the intended target, but they found somebody. They will absolutely take that, but Toast is the last one standing. Ace trying to go for the quick rushdown is able to do so there. So Smash Brothers now with the lead and control of the zone in what has been a couple of lead changes back and forth handling of the zone. Under 2 minutes to play, Smash Brothers in a fantastic position, especially as Neku is going to be able to get that decap kill.
You know what? It's a little bit of a serendipitous pick that worked out really well for H-Town in that situation there with that Ultra Stamp, and they will get control of the zone. Just a handful of minutes later after the pick landed, we were both noting the same thing there too. The Ultra Stamp toss, definitely not the intended target, but it got somebody on the side. They will take that any day of the week, and we are continuing to trade these zones back and forth again. Penalty points should be cleared out of here from H-Town Rebels. Now I want to see special-wise who will be the one to build out their specials there. They got the killer whale. They'll be able to scout out the other team and help displace H-Town Rebels. Across the board, about 1:05 minutes left to go on the clock. The only special available is a crab tank, which gets used. Neku trying to jump down to lower ground, see if that happens. But right away, DRF, even with the restart just flying in and the crab tank being used, both teams, the controls just going back and forth. It's been really close.
Oh, Boo Boo there with the reslider plus the immediate kill follow-up. Looked promising, and I think it actually did create just enough chaos here as Coulson's gonna look for one, able to find it, but not able to find the second. That is a lead change regardless for H-Town Rebels, so they got what they were looking for in this push, but did they pay too heavy of a price for it, Kyon?
That's gonna be the ultimate question. I think they should be okay, but they need to get these specials to help fend off the zone for just a little bit longer. About 20 seconds left to go on the clock. 2 members going down. They may have bit off a little bit more just to get the zones back. And Smash Brothers wastes no time getting the lead back here too. 10 seconds left to go on the clock. Bubble being used. They need to get the cap of the zone here quickly with about 15 ticks left. But they should be able to get neutral and the overtime coming up here, DRF. They got 3 down to start.
And it's just the pencil with cooler in hand, but the pencil goes down. They see Neku. They're hunting them down. It's a trade. H-Town Rebels advantage. Just a few ticks left to go in this penalty, but they lose 2 members, and it's gonna come down to these specials coming out of Smash Brothers. Are they gonna be able to put them out in time? The missiles not anywhere near the zone. Everybody diving the zone. Here it goes, the neutral stage. 2 down on the side of H-Town Rebels. They're holding on for dear life, and this one is going to do it with the wipeout. Smash Brothers holds on in game number 1 to kick off an absolute thriller.
DRF, it's only been game 1, right? I'm not seeing things, right? Like this has been, it is a crazy back and forth from Smash Brothers and H-Town Rebels, from start to finish. And what I saw right away from Smash Brothers, they were winning a lot of the fights. As we get to see the replays coming up here soon. Lots of fights won. I saw a lot of 3 down and 4 down, especially with the wipeout. Even if delayed, really help out Smash Brothers in a lot of situations. H-Town Rebels, what they had in their comments, they got the pick onto this Nega. This is the one where it was a little serendipitous to start, but that helped enable H-Town Rebels to keep on going. And I like the idea that Coulson they're trying to play aggressive, but the game snuffed up by the flings that really changed the tides just a tiny bit. And yeah, just this last fight, so close from H-Town Rebels, just I think 3 points short of the goal line. And dear of this, just game 1, I'm excited to see how game 2 plays out now.
Keon, it's only been 5 minutes, but it feels like we played 5 games.
Yes.
That game could not have been more exciting. Both of those teams just really wanted to be the ones to set the tone early on in this best of 9 set. And if those two teams continue to play and go at each other like we saw in that first game, we are going to be in for, I think, the 9 games that everybody in chat, everybody in the community has been hoping for. I know neither of these teams necessarily want to get there. They want to make this set quick and over with because they've already had their fair share of long sets throughout all these playoffs.
I don't think anybody wants to deal with long sets here. And I don't blame either team. If your goal is to take it home from start to finish, you want to get this set done as quick as you can, but you also want to avoid these long matches that goes back and forth we go. So I mean for the goal for both teams, the game 1's gonna be an interesting read. Normally this is where I see game 2 be the adjustment game for especially the one the losing team there, but Smash Brothers, they were capitalizing a lot on their fights. And H-Town, I love that they had a big skirmish and they were trying to continue with that pace. It just didn't seem to work out. So I want to see how this game 2 plays out. Game 2, to my recollection, should be Ship Shape Cargo Tower Control coming up. So this one, known as the Snowballing map, going to be very interesting to see.
Yes, ship shape, tower control really can go a number of different directions. Snowballing is definitely a great way to describe that. It's going to be, some pretty tense action early on, but look out for one of these teams to really kind of have that breakaway moment to just really capitalize on some momentum, especially around checkpoint 2. Because once you kind of clear out that second checkpoint, then it tends to be smooth sailing from there. But it's especially once you kind of reach checkpoint 3, then that's, kind of where that game ultimately gets decided. If you can break through there, you're probably in for a W. But game 1 and the way that this set has been hyped up, I have a feeling it's going to be one of those tower control games where you get one of those teams that feels like they make a breakaway after checkpoint 2. But then we're going to see the other team really bounce back, and it's going to come down to the wire on can they push that tower past the chains, get that first down, all the way to that overtime victory.
You know what? If I'm either team and anybody that's watching this game, you want to pay attention to the pushes between checkpoints 1 and 2. I'm gonna also join you on that one because the pathway to checkpoint 2 is a very deceptively short one for any team to deal with. So this is gonna be a very fascinating game that ultimately is gonna be determined by, one, how does your opening start, and how do you respond on defense once the opening happens here. We take a look at the quick weapons. Hi, Glugas, I see you over there. I'm not gonna ignore you one bit. No changes from Smash Brothers, just the Glugas in online for H-Town.
The Glugas, and we know why these Glugas are being brought out. They want a little bit of that aggression, but they more importantly want that Booyah Bomb. And that is going to be the GG special to watch out for if H-Town Rebels can find themselves in an advantageous position late into this game. But first, they need to stop this opening push out of Smash Brothers, who are going to be able to clear that first checkpoint with relative ease at this point, even though it's a pretty lengthy one. And there it goes. No contest there. And H-Town Rebels are going to go ahead and say, you know what, let them have it. We'll go ahead and get the stop here at 50 points remaining, and let's go ahead and get a push going of our own.
The push started because just like the last game, H-Town Rebels goes three down, which in the exact same fashion that Smash Brothers started, winning an immediate 3-down situation and taking it home to 50 points remaining. I love the patience, by the way, from H-Town Rebels as well, just waiting for the first checkpoint to go down, as you mentioned, and then playing their game with a bit of skirmish. And that's kind of how we're seeing this all play out with a 2-for-2 trade right away. They are still looking to skirmish, look for advantageous opportunities to strike. They will be cut down just a bit, though. I believe that is going to be a delayed wipe on top. And Smash Brothers, they are responding very well in coordination, and these 3-down situations for H-Town Rebels will only continue to build up.
Yeah, H-Town needs to be really careful whenever they find themselves 2 down, because that's where it feels like Smash Brothers really starts to shine. They do a great job of recognizing their number advantages and then rushing it down to try to capitalize on the opportunity to see if they could get a wipeout or a stagger, which might even be better for them at this stage. But it's players like Toast who hold their ground and are able to get their team back into it. Oh, get complete with a nice double there to save this tower. They're looking for Ace now too. Ace is on the tower. I think Ace might have actually gotten that kill, but Toast is once again back on that snipe to be able to stop this tower in its path. But Smash Brothers keeps the aggression up, finally forced to retreat all the way back past mid. They're gonna go ahead and just hold Ink in mid for now and see if they can get this back on this tower before H-Town can get back into mid.
The big thing that happened here is that Gluga saved H-Town right at that stage. That second turbo was so close to being broken, and they found 2 picks. I think that was complete on Gluga duties there, excuse me, on that one. And then yes, even though they were going multiple numbers down, Booyah Bomb then being used on the left-hand side to displace the rest of Smash Brothers, slowing them down, which allows the tower to reset, and Smash Bros. will have to reset right away. H-Town does keep their checkpoint alive. That's the key thing, and that's something that's going for them. Problem is how do they convert this into the offense that they need? They got the wiper, they got a decaf that they can afford to play a little aggressively on that front. I'd like to see a little bit more aggression right away from H-Town Rebel, and then try to see where they can find Smash Brothers out of position. They got 2 members down just like that. Problem is they lose 2 of their own. So about 1 minute and 45 left to go. H-Town does need to win a couple more fights.
Yeah, H-Town, it seems like every time they get their foot back in the door, Smash Brothers is able to just quickly hit them with another jab and throw them off balance. So they're gonna have to come up with some really big plays here in the closing 90 seconds. Something like this hammer could be a big playmaker, but they weren't able to find any value there. Neku has been fantastic with just trying to find sneaky positions all throughout this game, but that's gonna be a 2-for-1 trade there in favor of the H-Town Rebels. Finally going to be able to work through this first checkpoint, and that's another trade for the H-Town Rebels. They're going to go ahead and take up all of these trade offers. They said, you know what, we like this right now, but they need to keep the momentum going. And under a minute to go, Keone, and H-Town Rebels finally on the board here, seeing if they can get something going and close that gap.
They have about 49 seconds to make this one count. The big thing we need to keep an eye on are the specials right now. Bubbles, we use both ends, and both decals to go down for it. But they have Coulson, who's going to use the Ultra Sim in a perfectly placed one that takes out Lemon. That's out. They're out of the picture. The issue though is Neku and Mars on Smash Brothers are in prime position to still play defensively and get control of the tower back. The big thing that H-Town Rebels has going for them, DRF, is that they cleared the first checkpoint. They need to follow it up here soon by winning some of these fights. The problem is specials are not quite there yet. They only got cooler with about a handful of ticks left. Members going down is only gonna delay this further. Smash Brothers are trying to slam the door shut on a possible H-Town push.
If I'm Smash Brothers at this point, like, you don't need to push the tower. Just try to just keep it in a position where you can just dive it with relative ease. But nonetheless, H-Town tries to dive it themselves, and Smash Brothers is able to hold on in what was a relatively dominant game number 2, although H-Town Rebels had what looked to be the start of a good comeback there in the closing minutes.
Sort of a good comeback. The issue is that the comeback comes in about less than a minute left to go, so you need to be on point with your coordination together there. We're gonna see a handful of replays here as well to help illustrate a few things and complete just a bit ago getting the 2 picks there that at least forced the tower to reset and prevent the second checkpoint from going down, which that would have came out to be huge if H-Town was able to kickstart that comeback. The issue though, DRF, is that they were getting staggered in about the last 40 seconds plus, and by the time they were staggered, the defenses just couldn't get set in time, and that's just one of the troubles you have when you're playing from behind and trying to get a push started and trying to get that comeback going. So great 2-0 lead for Smash Brothers. Still definitely some signs of life, and Game 3 is going to be pretty intriguing to watch now.
Yes, it is, as Smash Brothers has that early 2-0 lead. Of course, doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot because they still have 3 more games that they have to win. So they aren't even halfway through this set on their way to a possible Division 2 championship. There is a lot of Splatoon left to be played, but the question now becomes, what adjustments can the H-Town Rebels make in order to deal with the high aggression that we're seeing out of Smash Brothers? I mean, players like Neku have just been running all over the place. I mean, like I said, in the middle of that game too, they've been finding such great opportunities to slip through the defense of the H-Town Rebels, especially when they have even just the slightest numbers advantage, to just dive on in and create enough chaos that H-Town starts to force themselves into a stagger.
Just like the quarterfinals matchup, I had the opportunity to cast there. Smash Bros has that two-headed monster. You know, they're two Neku, but also do not underestimate Ace, who just nearly red tiles again. Even though the scoreline said 5-3, Ace has been a dominant factor for that quarterfinals matchup. So H-Town has to deal with not just Neku, but Ace as well, who have both been having spectacular games so far, the 2 games that we have seen today. But if there's anything that H-Town has going for them, is they're winning out a handful of skirmishes and punishing Smash Brothers when they get too deep. So when you go to this humpback pump track Rainmaker map, which starts to get a little small, this is where the members being up is going to be key here, because losing a handful of fights consecutively could mean big points being cashed in. But the other thing too is that this also means that that game-winning pushes can be very volatile. So, or rather, leads can be volatile in this situation. So H-Town still has life. They just got to focus on the right targets.
Yeah, they certainly do. We saw a couple of great looks there from H-Town Rebels in those last couple of games. I wouldn't be surprised if the Reef Slider comes back as a possibility, just to continue to sow some chaos into the Smash Brothers backline. I thought that actually was a great disruption tool for them in that game number 1. And I think that's something that can serve them well in order to get those quick Rainmaker pops and just have successive pushes, like just one after another after another. I do think that that's going to be where H-Town Rebels, if they want to make an adjustment, that's where they should look in order to get on the board.
I think with this map coming up, it's gonna really staying alive and trying to keep your teams fortified is gonna be the key thing here. So that's what I want to see that being cleaned up there. You know, their 2 restart probably would probably be a good choice, excuse me, to make this one count. But they're gonna go away from that. Okay then. So I see the heavy splitling Deco, which, if I am not mistaken, that's the one with the Kraken. Yes, that is the one with the Kraken coming out here. Boo Boo is going to be coming out here with the Slosh as well. And Neku, the only change, you're going to go away from the mint decaf to the splatter shot now. They have the Zuka that is online. Some interesting changes on the board here, Giraffe.
Yeah, some interesting changes indeed. I don't dislike it, but I did really feel like that the Dreadringer was kind of the slosher that was allowing H-Town to make a lot of, big moves. But let's see how this is going to work out for them. It's Smash Brothers with the early possession of the Rainmaker, and it's the Kraken that's going to be taking down that Rainmaker. That's exactly why Toast made this adjustment here. So it looks like they're going to get the early stop and a relatively open path over to that first checkpoint, as it's just Lemon with a little bit of backup here finally coming into the scene, but it's Toast that's going to slam home that checkpoint.
Yeah, that's a checkpoint, and if you're H-Town Rebels, you should feel very good about getting that checkpoint all the way home. And the other thing too, they got the pop here. I think they got just a mere point on the board though, because they're being displaced by the Tenna missiles. So all that being said and done, I was surprised that the pop even came out in H-Town's favor in that situation. But Smash Brothers had to retreat just a tiny bit. Yes, you only lose 2. You only get 1 extra point on the board from that pedestal. But again, what I was about to note, if you're H-Town Rebels, that's a really good start. You're able to stop Smash Brothers in the first minute. Now you just got to see if you can keep that momentum up just a little bit more. They're going to be okay with the Rainmaker resetting because there's a lot of gold ink done on the turf. So Smash Brothers going to be the one playing from behind here, but mentioned before, it's Humpback Pump Track Rainmaker. The game can be volatile.
It certainly can be. The Zuka shots now going to be coming out, able to find one there. They saw them in their scope and said, target locked. but it looks like H-Town coming in with a retaliation of their own.
Nice.
And it is the Glugas able to find 2, looking for 3. I think they got it.
They did.
Oh, wait, was that the possible quad? No, okay, I think the Glugas did go down in a trade there, but nonetheless, H-Town Rebels with the Rainmaker running it down all the way to 29 points remaining. 3 down situation in their favor as well. Kraken coming out. This is gonna go insanely far, Keeled, all the way to 8 points remaining. H-Town Rebels strike big halfway through this game.
Gluga three picks there. It is enough to open the door for H-Town Rebels. You thought it was the quad. The triple was just enough for the major change there. 8 points remaining is a huge one to start, and it gives H-Town Rebels a lot of room to breathe at this age, especially now that the checkpoint has yet to be cleared. But Smash Bros. Being very sneaky right now. They're trying to move on the right-hand side. Had to retreat just a bit because the Ultra Cannon was about to go down. But they got the 10 missiles. They got the coolers available. They can displace H-Town Rebels. They can also afford to play aggressively as well. They're taking their time with this Rainmaker. 2 minutes left to go. Again, this lead very much not safe. From my past experience seeing Help That Pump Drive Rainmaker, things can change really quickly here. But that Kraken not able to get the pick in time. The all-important checkpoint being cleared is huge for the Smash Brothers because it gives them room to work with in future pushes.
Yeah, and especially in the position that Smash Brothers was in, I do think that was actually a really smart play for them to swing it to the right-hand side. Just try to expedite the push to that checkpoint, as we now are going to watch Neku take a little bit of a flank here, but Toast going to call them out for it. But let's see, is this all part of a master plan for Neku just to divert the backline's attention away? It looks like Neku's actually going to go ahead and retreat from this one. And it is going to just be an absolute clash here as Smash Brothers with the numbers advantage now. But here comes Toast, who misses with the Kraken. Oh, disaster! But wait, Smash Brothers has stopped the 9 points remaining. But can they get the pop? It's not going to happen. Complete's going to go ahead and dive this one down. Oh, what a save out of the Rebels.
The Kraken was near tragic. Just took the wrong angle at the wrong place there, and it nearly gave Smash Bros. A breakaway to the pedestal there. Almost a fast break into a slam dunk opportunity there, DRF, but it just did not land. And now Smash Bros. Has to retreat the Rainmaker all the way back home to the other side. But they do have almost, I think, a few more pushes left in the tank. And now H-Town Rebels now recognizing this could have been a huge lead throwaway there, is gonna have to play defense a couple more times right now. And with the Rainmaker kind of slowly retreating, this might be the only chance they have here, DRF. About 15 seconds left to go, and the Kraken being used, it picks up 2, and that might just do it here, DRF, because that ult champ's gonna stamp out Ace. That's basically gonna be the game and the wipeout for the cherry on top. And DRF, what a great response from H-Town Rebels. That got dicey at the end, though, to say the least.
H-Town is breathing the biggest sigh of relief right now, because we thought that the Kraken was coming in for the hero play, but just misses by mere inches as Smash Brothers was able to slip past the Kraken and ran it all the way down to 9 points remaining. That could have gone horribly wrong, but H-Town got out of it alive, and they have tightened up this set 2-1.
I'm really hoping we have the replay about what happened there on basically the clutch defense, but almost near tragedy there, DRF, from the Kraken wrong angle here. So this was gonna be the first checkpoint, and the Kraken missing by a couple meters there. So that checkpoint being cleared gave Smash Brothers an opportunity to basically get a future push started without having to worry about the checkpoint here. This is the one I was actually a little bit ooh and ahhing about. Was I think the other side got Ace, but Ace was able to get the trade back. So we see the Zuka here. I'm wondering, are we going to be able to get the full breath of this replay? Yeah, Toast waited a little patient, just wrong angle. Who got the pick there? I think that was the Glugas. Was that complete? I think that was complete, if I'm not mistaken. That basically got the lingering pick there. Had complete not landed, that we'd be talking 3-0. That was clutch, but boy, I'm sure H-Town Rebels would prefer not to have that happen again.
They absolutely would not like to see that again, but I mean, all the credit to Mars, who was the one that managed to squid roll over the Kraken in order to get that breakaway opportunity, but just fell a couple inches short. I mean, the Kraken give and the Kraken take. It's as simple as that, Kyo, because the Kraken is the one that shut down their opportunities, but also, in a way, gave them that opportunity.
Toast will have to go back to class here and just trying to figure out on where do we put the right angles. I think Toast might have gotten juked a little bit there on that on that one, but again, at the end of the day, Toast then came out clutch with the double pick there at the end to basically shut the door on Smash Brothers. So a bit of a redemption there for Toast. I think they'll be glad rather that they were able to take that one home for their team, but. Now we move on to the Scorch Clam Blitz matchup. For any Clams matchup, this is always a test of teamwork and coordination to me. So this is going to be the one I'm going to be intrigued about. I personally, DRF, Reapstar would probably be an okay choice here. I wouldn't be shocked if it comes here, but we've seen some zany picks already.
I mean, time will tell here. Let's take a look at the composition adjustments as it looks like H-Town is really happy with what they've been running. They're going to go ahead and pivot back to the heavy edit though, so they can have some of that cooler to work with. But Boo Boo feeling good about that vanilla slosher and complete. Feeling like they're just getting started on the Glugas. Meanwhile, Smash Brothers continuing to run familiar comps here. Pencil's back. We've got the 52 Gal. We've got the Flings, and we've got the Decav. I mean, Smash Brothers seems really content with this composition to kind of run it through as many games as this set goes.
I'm not at all surprised by the changes. What that basically tells you is that Smash Bros. Did not prioritize Decaf in that Humpback Pump Track Rainmaker map. I don't blame them. It's a pretty small map to begin with. And that heavy Splat Lane Deco was basically a pick pretty much meant for Humpback. And when they go to a much more bigger map here, such as Scorch Clams, that's where we get to see that heavy edit. That's where we get to see that Decaf be back in action for Neku, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Neku on the Decaf in this situation. So hey, a little bit of adjustments. I love what we saw there with the weapon-specific picks. Now I want to see who gets the first push on the board, and H-Town will probably be solved for just a few quick moments there, losing some of their members, so they'll have to wait for the reinforcements to come back.
Yeah, they're gonna have to wait this one out just a little bit, as H-Town, though, gonna find themselves 3 down, but it's once again Toast on the back line, holding things down for the team as they get back into action. Smash Brothers had a possible window of opportunity there, but it just was not enough to get through the wall of Toast for now. They're gonna have to find a couple more picks here, but here it goes. Finally able to find 2 down there. 2 power clams able to go out, and a couple of spare clams for change going into the basket. 45 points remaining for the opening push here with just over a minute and a half into this game. And I mean, that is a really solid position to be in, Keone, especially this early in the game. I mean, I guess about the halfway point of the game now, but nonetheless, 45 points remaining is definitely a big hurdle to climb if you're H-Town.
H-Town, what they have at least going for them is that they've been slowly building up plans. They're just looking for openings to strike there. But Smash Brothers, the offensive game plan was very good. They got that bubble in, and yeah, they did lose 2 initially, but they're able to get the power clams that they needed in. So even if they got wiped out, the small clams for change was still they got what they wanted at the end of the day from that push. Obviously, would have loved to have a little bit more, but 45 points remaining is very strong. Now, the thing here with H-Town is that aggression needs to be on point. You got complete that has been able to play very decent defense, but the offense will need to come from somewhere. They're gonna need to see if this bubble there being allowed here from the Decaf is gonna help their cause. Complete trying to prove me wrong though, but they will only trade. Saw what they were trying to do. They're using the splash to present themselves and look for the follow-up pick, but just got snuffed out. And again, it's just a little bit of a slow going here for H-Town. They had a decent clam economy, but it looks like they'll have to rebuild it here.
Yeah, and here comes that stagger once again as Smash Brothers able to find just 2 down at a time, just constantly sending H-Town back to spawn, but Mars gonna be coming in with another power clam. The 52 Gal has 7 clams to their name, trying to do something with it, but no, they choose to dive into the H-Town spawn, gonna get called out for it. So it's a one and done push. No points on the board for Smash Brothers here, giving H-Town Rebels another power clam to work with in the closing 90 seconds, but H-Town has yet to even sniff the basket in this game. They're gonna have to see if they can come up with a couple of big picks, and it's gonna start here with the decaf and the 52 gal going down. But no, Smash Brothers responds with 2 picks of their own.
Dude, the 2 picks were critical. If they got any more than that, we would be talking big pushes right now. But now they're trying to accumulate power glance, but they are stuck in no man's land. Quick recognition from Ace, starting to really realize there that, hey, they're trying to juggle those power cleanses. We gotta protect that as much as we can. And the push that could have easily been huge there. Now they gotta rebuild it once more for H-Town. It was so close, but again, really huge finds there from Smash Brothers. And they also exploited what H-Town was trying to do, was to build up for one really big splash push, if you will, but they were just cut short. Maybe a good opportunity. Now they take out the pencil, they took out the decaf there, but the openings are available, but Ace is still alive.
And it's going to be Boo Boo that comes in with the first power clamp complete, diving in with the second power clamp, able to do it and roll out of the way. And this is going to come down to this push right here, possibly, as L trying to pick up little clamps, see if they can extend this basket's timer. Not going to be the case here, but that is perfectly okay for H-Town. 15 seconds to play. They're going to be able to build up one more power clamp. They're going to need to find a 1+6 in order to win this game in overtime. But first they need to find the picks, as Smash Brothers has 7 clamps on that Frieza. There's the power clamp, but now they're able to go back into their base. It looks like Smash Brothers slowly being pushed back. They're gonna have to rely on their defense here. The trip strike's coming in. Boo Boo trying to find Ace here. Gonna be able to do so, but Ace is able to find another pick on their own as well. Complete underneath the basket. They're trying to set up a jumper. No, Boo Boo's not able to get it off in time. Complete is gonna get shut down, and H-Town in overtime had a great look at it, but Smash Brothers survives the late H-Town Rebels comeback.
You know, H-Town Rebels, I love the idea that they had right out of the gate, but they needed a lot of things to materialize. I gotta give major props to Ace for just continuing to be on point on that defensive hold there against H-Town Rebels in this situation. We got a few replays. Again, the 45-point range turns out to be the big difference. Now, they got the push start here. One key thing to note was, yeah, in that sequence, they had to juggle several power cleanses, which means they were live beacons for Smash Brothers to work around. They realized, all right, they're trying to just grab the clam economy. We just got to shut down that avenue. And at that stage, L did try to pick out small guys and try to keep that one alive for their team, but it just didn't work out at the end there too. And this last push, they got picks, but they needed the people that they needed to eliminate the most. Ace staying back in their base to be that major point of defense was huge. And Smash Bros. 3-1 lead so far. Things looking pretty solid.
Yes, they are looking great so far. I think in that last play there, you know, I would have almost liked to have seen Complete just turn their attention to the back line, to the players coming out from spawn. They opted to try to, you know, sandwich the 2 members of Smash Brothers to see if they can be able to get that pick and open up the path up the ramp. I think at that point, dude, they got the successful flank off. They might as well have tried to go for the cheesy jump in and see if they could have just gotten some quick points on the board and forced Smash Brothers to scramble a little bit. But nonetheless, I don't think it was a bad call either. It's the call that they made. It's the call that I think they have to stick with and feel confident about. And it's those types of calls that they're going to have to continue to feel comfortable making if they want to get back in this set. Because Smash Brothers right now is looking really good. They're looking like a Div 2 champion.
The Smash Brothers right now, they have several members you have to keep eyes on. You got to deal with I mean, the team as well as a whole has been spectacular, but Ace has been a player that they actually, granted them, they've been targeting Ace a lot through in that previous game, but then they have to follow it up with the other members as well, and that's kind of where things start to fall flat. Even if you take out Ace, you lose two of your own members. It's always gonna be hard. So in this situation, you're going on to this Mahi zones, which starts very small, then starts to expand obviously in map size at around the 60 points remaining. So if H-Town, again, I feel like the priority is gonna be the same, but now you got to figure out how do you get rid of their backline to make them have to frenzy a little bit, because there's almost two levels you got to do with Ace and Neku, and then of course the backlines of Smash Brothers.
Okay, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but hear me out.
Okay, sure.
H-Town, bring back the Dread Ringer. This is a perfect map mode to do it. I'm not even a Dreadringer stan. I don't think it's like all that great of a weapon, but like I felt like H-Town really had something going with it.
Hey, listen.
And yes, there it is out of Boo Boo. It just makes way too much sense to bring this one out here. If they can just time these Reef Sliders well, be patient, but also be willing to hit the go button at any moment. This is an opportunity for H-Town to try to flip the momentum back in their favor, but Smash Brothers sticking with that same composition, they're really gonna have to find something to do with that pencil because they don't have a great answer for that with this composition.
That's actually the one thing that I was gonna note here is that the decap and the wiper needs to be on point to deal with the pencil, especially with hammer tosses. The first priority is to deal with the pencil because they're gonna help reinforce it with the paint there. As L gets a really nice angle there on the decap, but they're gonna get traded with their own lives. The more important thing is that H-Town at least forces the neutral in that situation. So I see the Ultra Saiyans off there trying to go for the members in front of them, but recognizing that the pencil will always be safe in both situations. So you gotta get your aggression on the board to deal with the pencil at the stage. And the news I have to break to you here, DRF, is I'm actually inclined to believe that this Dreadringer and Wiper combination is a zone-specific strategy the more I'm seeing the first 4 games. So they got the lead right now, but we gotta see how this holds, which isn't much.
No, I completely agree with you on that point, Keon. Again, it's just something that makes sense for this particular mode, as we do see that H-Town is able to utilize that to get the lead, but it's not a really sturdy lead as Smash Brothers is about to break out of the penalty. They do have the Reef Slider at the ready, plus the hammer, but the hammer's gonna get shut down there. So it's going to be a lead swap back in favor of Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers with the decaf having their special ready. The bubble gonna try to put up an aggressive front here, and it's gonna be able to allow that Reef Slider in, but it's only good enough for the neutral game. And Booba's gonna be forced to jump out. And this is a disaster for the H-Town Rebels. Only one member got out of that fight. Smash Brothers able to hold on to that zone with everything that they had. This is gonna have to be a very quick turnaround for the H-Town Rebels if they want to stay in this set. It's 8 points remaining. The hammer's gonna come back in for a last second opportunity, but it's not enough paint. Smash Brothers decisively taking game number 5, putting themselves up 4-1.
DRF, the idea with the Reef Slider is if you're gonna try to use that in conjunction with the wiper, but when things get super disjointed or you don't even get these zones capped with that Reef Slider, then things started to go from bad to worse in that situation. And they were also, unfortunately, the team that didn't get the cap of the zone, so that just snowballed out of control in a hurry there. I need to see if we do get the replay of the Reef Slider that does fly in here, because yeah, they were quickly losing members fast. And, okay, so it was just a bit before, but at that situation, the Reef Slider did not get in the cap. Now everybody is stuck in basically a panic situation, or basically a bit of a scramble situation there of like, oh shoot, that Reef Slider did not get the neutral. We need to find picks now, but by then they're stuck in no man's land. And DRF, we are 1 game away for Smash Brothers, not only breaking the 8-9 set ties. This would be Smash Brothers punching home their Division 2 championship.
Yes, a Division 2 championship is possibly 5 minutes away for Binghamton University. They are brand new to the CCA this season, and this would be just a phenomenal way to get their CCA legacy started. A Division 2 title saying, hey, you should have just put us in Division 1 at the start of this all. I think that would be such a statement for them and for their university to welcome a new age of Splatoon esports at that college. They kind of came in with this wave from the ECAC. So it's super exciting to have them here, and now possibly 5 minutes away from a division title.
We move going on to this Hagglefish Market Target Troll. Now H-Town has to win, take this 1 game at a time, and we're not going to be seeing the Reef Slider very much so at this stage. It's looking very evident. It's a very zone specific weapon, so I expect to be seeing very similar weapons that we saw across 2 to 4 in that one. And obviously Smash Brothers they've done a great job winning a lot of their fights. If they keeping that up, will spell the championship for them. So H-Town, you got to go 1 game at a time. They're gonna need to look for those picks. They got to be able to target out the backline as mentioned before. I've seen a few Ultra Sams go towards Lemon, but each time you use that will make the pencil feel a little bit more safer unless they're out of position as well. So that's the target you gotta focus. I know Ace has been a menace so far this set too as well. So I'm gonna be curious to see what H-Town does coming into this Hagglefish Market target control map.
Yeah, and this map mode just feels like it is an opportunity for Binghamton University. I feel like their composition works here. They've had to fight, in my opinion, two of the best three teams in Division 2 on their way to this championship match against the H-Town Rebels. They took down Daybreak. They took down the Reef Runners. Is H-Town Rebels next on their list? Time will tell, Keone. Possibly 5 minutes away from a Division 2 title. Let's dive on in as the Smash Brothers are running back that same exact composition that has worked so well for them in their 4 victories.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Total respect from that from Smash Brothers right now. H-Town going back to the vanilla slosher there. Now they got the heavy hit with the crab, which again, any weapon with the crab is a very popular pick in Hagglefish Market as well, especially in tower control at the stage. Now, this is the opening that H-Town needs. They have the crab planted in the tower so far, and more importantly, by the way, they just eliminated the Flingza as well, and I don't think they even picked up the cooler, so that is going to need to be a rebuild on the Tenna missiles. This is going to be a clearance of the first checkpoint, and the Blue Bomb may have been thrown a little early there, but that's going to be okay. They got the clearance that they need, and we're halfway through in the points remaining, and that's a powerful start for H-Town.
This is an opening that we have not seen from H-Town this entire set. It's always been Smash Brothers that has gotten the opening jab, but it's now H-Town who's found something in the opening here to really take an early lead. 41 points remaining, definitely not safe by any standards, but nonetheless, it is something that we just haven't seen out of H-Town this entire set, and H-Town is coming to life here in game number 6. They recognize the stakes and they don't want this to be over. They said, we came here, everyone's expecting a game 8. We are gonna try our best to send it that way. A minute and a half into game number 6 here, and it feels like H-Town is just dominating so far.
Yeah, even though you lose 2, again, another critical pick from Coulson, and I think that might have been a hitbox moment, but no matter the cost, it actually gets the second checkpoint to be cleared. Now Ace, the only one alive in that situation that has to retreat, and this is the dream situation there for H-Town. 2 members up, but you still assert control of Smash Brothers base, and now you lose 3. Now you have to recognize that you gotta quickly retreat and run for the hills. But you cleared the treacherous second checkpoint at Hagglefish Market. The problem right now, though, there is still plenty of block left in the tank. I think the Booyah Bomb may have gotten shut down, as you may have just noticed there as well. So it's the exact same situation once more. They gotta hold it off for just a little bit longer because, well, we've seen from Smash Brothers, they know when to punch back.
Smash Brothers is hoping for this to be a game of 2 halves. They let Smash Brothers take it in the first half, but they want to write the second half. They want to write this into a Division 2 championship. And here they start their push. 73 points remaining. They pull out the killer whales there, but 2 members go down in mid. The tower is left alone. I don't even know what had happened there. They had to completely abandon ship. And now H-Town Rebels are trying their best to hold down the front lines. They're forced the tower back into a neutral position, but Smash Brothers gets back on. They're continuing to ride this out, complete, finding a quick pick and backing up, trying their best to just pick smart fights, because that's what you have to do when you're in H-Town's position. They are now on the defense here, trying to lock things down. The crab coming out, the triple splashdown coming out as well, complete with another quick pick and backup. That's a formula that's absolutely working for complete right now. Oh, Keone. It seems like H-Town has really found their step here on the defensive end.
That got a little dicey on top of it too. I saw the bubble and I'm like, oh, they could get a whole lot more there in prime position, but they were able to hold the line at so far, but they're also quickly bleeding members, so here's the quick recognition. They got only 1 checkpoint to their name. They're also being chased by Ace as well. If Ace gets a pick, they force Toast in the lower ground. Toast has to retreat. That is going to buy them enough time. So this is now this is do or die for H-Town's defense. They've given up a lot of ground so far, so now your focus is you got to get the members up quick, but that's the problem. They don't have they're losing members members super fast. Neku is diving deep. Toast is super focused onto Neku. That might be the situation Smash Brothers will need, but they lose 2 by their own. So Smash Brothers found several opportunities but could not capitalize. H-Town definitely trying to hold them off as long as they can. 30 seconds left to go here, DRF. It's gonna be this defense needs to hold.
Yeah, and H-Town doing everything they can, but Smash Brothers just continuing to keep their foot on the gas. They are not going to let this tower retreat all the way back into mid. Of course, I say that. It seems like they actually get pretty far over there. So now the Trip Strikes coming in, holding on for the last second. GG Trip Strikes. Focus on the tower now. Boo Boo waiting to get into position here, but 2 members go down. Ace is gonna try to get the quick pick there, and it's not able to do so. The Trip Strikes come in, but nobody's there to touch the tower, and it's gonna be Smash Brothers that continues this push. Complete's gonna go down. It's just Toast. Can Toast hold on? And no, it's not gonna be the case here. Wait, Toast finds 1, Toast finds 2. Oh my gosh, H-Town forces us into a game number 7 at the last second. H-Town pulls it off again. Oh my goodness, Keon.
DRF, H-Town's defense being clutch when they needed it, at the same time almost a second throw lead in the game. And this is where, one of the things I was really worried about in the last minute of this game was they were giving up so much ground to Smash Brothers. I get the idea. I think they were trying to play a little passively, trying to defend that 15-point lead. But you saw at that exact moment when you were calling this too. So the thing I noticed was the Ultra Time getting canceled. I think it was around this particular point, but they got canceled. And the Trip Strikes, yes, correctly staggered, but they're losing 2 members by their own, and you're only left to Heavy and Complete that were trying to defend with all their might. Now this replay here, all 3 members are down. Toast finds 1, finds the second. That would prove to be huge because the rest of the members were able to follow up and get the remaining picks that they need to shut down OT. H-Town was cutting it so close here, but hey, any victory is a victory to stay alive in the set here, DRF.
Like my hand is like shaking. Like just watching that. Like I can only imagine how H-Town is feeling coming out of that game. Their 2 victories have come up in, I believe, 1-point victories. I think that was ultimately a 1-point victory. Maybe it was 2 points, but they've had to come up in big clutch moments at the buzzer in order to get their 2 victories here. Smash Brothers has had to do the same in a couple of their victories, but 2 of their victories were in relatively dominant fashion. So Smash Brothers right now definitely feeling like, okay, you know what, it's fine. But they probably have to recognize how dominant they have been in a couple of these games. So it's just a matter of, how can we overcome this clutch factor from the H-Town Rebels? And I think the answer to that is don't give them the opportunity.
I think my read on that, not just that too, I also want to point out, I don't think Smash Bros. Are going to be super worried about how that game went. Yes, it looked really dominant from that Hagglefish market from minute 1, but you kind of saw that Smash Bros. Was getting a decent stranglehold there in the last minute and 15. Obviously, they didn't get the dub, but at the end of the day, they were showing, okay, we actually could be, we'll just have to reset on the next map, and hey, we'll take that loss as it stands. So the next one being Undertow Spillway Rainmaker. Of course, everybody goes to Undertow Rainmaker once every day of the week, basically. You get the idea here, DRF. So now, if you're H-Town, obviously you need to figure out a way to tighten your defenses, basically. You don't want that defense to crumble. You don't want to lose that lead the same way you did in your 2 victories so far. So I want to see how they start to really tighten the defenses when they have that lead situation, if it's in the early game. We're gonna load into this Undertow Rainmaker map. I'm gonna see it from the weapons here. I don't think we're gonna see the one with the crab variation. Neku? Hold up, Neku?
Neku blindsiding everybody here, running the ink brush. I don't think we were quite expecting that. And it felt like Smash Brothers was super comfortable with the composition they've been running. It's part of their arsenal, but it just did not seem like it was going to be coming out at all. So here we are now. H-Town Rebels now gonna have to see what kind of adjustments they're gonna have to make mid-game to deal with the likes of an Ink Bush that they might not have been expecting. But early on, it is a very neutral game, Keon. If I'm H-Town, you really have to start this game the same way you did that last one, because when H-Town is able to get some big pushes in the opening minute and a half is when they have been the most successful. But it's so far Smash Brothers who are riding this Rainmaker all the way to the first checkpoint, and that is the formula that Smash Brothers has been relying on to get their 4 victories. And so far, if the pattern remains the same, we might be crowning a Div 2 champion at the end of this.
Both the Booyah Bomb shutdowns have been huge so far, by the way, from Smash Brothers, as they shut down Neku. Neku is trying to flank them from behind, and it just did not quite work. They're getting a little too cute for their own good there from Smash Brothers. I think they aren't going to worry about that too much. So, you mentioned before, powerful pushes from the get-go has been the formula here for Smash Brothers, and now trying to reclaim any of that magic, but Hagelfish does not seem to be there right now because they're losing so much of these fights at this stage. So they gotta see if they can hold it out once more and then see if they can get a push of their own. And going back to that brush pick, something that I noticed here with Neku so far, Neku has not dished up the decap. If I'm not mistaken, any Rainmaker map, I'm probably not feeling that decap is going to be a not feeling the decap on the Rainmaker. 30 points remaining though, and they drop the Rainmaker. Now the scene is starting to expand really quickly.
It is. It's starting to get into very dangerous territory for the H-Town Rebels. The Trip Strike's coming out, trying to get Smash Brothers away from this Rainmaker. They do find 2 picks here, but the missiles are out, and Lemon is going to try to take this opportunity to make a move. It's going to find the trade that is pure benefit for Smash Brothers, as now Complete looking to find Ace here. Ace continuing to run it down. At this point, we are halfway through this game, Keon, and Smash Brothers has built up a big lead and are basically saying, if we can continue to run this down, and even if it's a trade, even if we don't necessarily get a pick, Boo Boo with a nice double on the bomb, plus the wipeout, erase everything I just said. H-Town Rebels getting a big opportunity here, Keon.
They needed this opportunity then. That bomb, I don't care how serendipitous it is, you need that opening now with the way Smash Bros. Has been playing. They're trying to throw bombs of their own. They're going to have to play aggressive here, but they're getting snuffed out by the brush of all weapons, and the 3-member dropping situation is not going to help matters. L actually just dodging by the terrain, but that's going to be okay. But here's the thing though, DRF, that does open the things up for just a little bit longer. It's 1:50 left to go on the clock. Now, Smash Brothers picking up this Rainmaker gives H-Town a chance to fight back. But that was an opening they need, but they now need to start capitalizing here soon. Neku has done a great job on the brush. They dropped the Rainmaker, they dropped 3, and this could be a huge opportunity, but they gotta make this opportunity count here, DRF. About 1:30 left to go on the clock, and now Ace is back up, and now they may have to start rebuilding their reinforcements. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Tragedy has struck at the dead of midnight.
Oh, what a disaster here for the H-Town Rebels. They came into the set saying that our Wi-Fi is just complete.
Wait, what?
What? What did we just see, Keon? A disconnect, 3v4, H-Town somehow finds the lead, and they're gonna go ahead and ride this one out. 50 seconds to play, and H-Town somehow finds the lead here. They're gonna hold their ground. They're gonna see if they can hold on to this and force a game 8.
They need to find picks now. 38 seconds left to go. These specials need to be on point. The Toast with the biggest MVP hero play of their lives for Division 2. But here's the problem, though. They're in a perma 1-down situation. The last time I've seen the team of 3 win has been a long time. Here's around 20 seconds left to go. If they lose too much of their enforcements, they're going to end up losing this game here soon. There's a lot of blue paint. This may be the saddest that ensues, and I think it will be. Yup, it is. 28 points remaining. We were so close here, but I think this is going to be it.
Yeah, I think this is it. We are crowning a Division 2 champion as a Smash Brothers pulls it out in an absolute 7-game thriller to become your Division 2 champions.
Well done, Smash Brothers, taking that home from start to finish. Throughout this set, H-Town gave them a run of their money at the end. I know we will end up talking about the disconnect. The only reason why the disconnect did matter in terms of the defenses being up, they need to get the specials that were available in play. But what a hero play I just saw from Toast at the very end, at the very least, to get the points they needed for the lead change. But of course, DRF, you and I both know, super hard to come back on a 3v4 situation like that. And losing the decaf was the one that disconnected there too. It did hurt them just a bit there, but at the end of the day, that's how things end up rolling. And Smash Brothers, well done. It was an excellent playoff run for them. The only team, by the way, to not go all 9 games. They finished this one off in 7.
Yeah, they got the job done. They said, hey, we have not played a Game 9 all playoffs, and we don't plan to start today. Smash Brothers, I mean, they looked dominant at times, but they had their hands full with this clutch H-Town Rebels team. They came up with big play after big play, and that's what H-Town Rebels had to do to keep themselves in this set. And it created for such entertainment, but it was the slow, consistent, well, not slow, but it was the consistent and steady manner in which Smash Brothers was playing. They were continuing to just run it down because they understood that their best key to victory is to sow chaos into the game. And by keeping the members of H-Town distracted, that was opening windows of opportunity for them to get big points on the board.
I feel like you trainers just summed it up very well, and especially that kind of falls suit with from what I saw back when I classed in Smash Brothers and Daybreak was this is a team that has great players in their front line with Ace and Neku, but a huge shout out to their back line. And unfortunately, I need to get the rosters here real quick because Smash Brothers. Yep, Mars was there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Lemon was the other one. Lemon was on Flames of Duty, of course. So, I mean, that team as a whole played cohesively well, and especially the first 2 games where they were winning off of key triples in every situation. It was working out well for them. We were hoping to see such that heavyweight fight play out in the end, but the way Smash Brothers played and kind of just forced H-Town to play at their pace, which they looked like they weren't comfortable with, I think it really made the difference.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that Smash Brothers set the tone early, and H-Town had to play their game, but H-Town made this as wildly entertaining as they possibly could have with just clutch play after clutch play. I mean, that was their secret sauce there. They knew that if you just give them one opportunity, they were going to be able to get themselves back into every single game, and that they did, with the exception of that Mahi Mahi game. I mean, Smash Brothers just played that one to perfection. But between the Smash Brothers defense and, being able to just run it down in a stagger of their own, it was calculated chaos for Smash Brothers that brought them to this championship.
But I think you and I both want to give credit to H-Town Rebels for giving Smash Brothers a run of their money there throughout this set, especially in these very tight situations at the end. I know in a lot of situations, H-Town's defense looked like it was about to crumble in those big moments, but at least they held their ground and able to get those dubs at the end. But I think it was just one situations too many that basically doomed them at the end. But they had a fantastic season overall. Of course, if you're making it to playoffs is obviously no easy feat with how you play it. So Smash Brothers, I think, was the team that finished second in Group 2. Group 1, that was H-Town Rebels. They finished third in Group 1, and they played, and both teams should play phenomenal winning count. So huge credit to H-Town, but more importantly, congratulations, Smash Brothers.
I mean, just a huge thank you from the CCA staff and the CCA community to these Division 2 teams for putting on what is probably going to be remembered as one of, if not the best league playoffs that we have ever seen. I mean, 4 game 9s, 6 games going to at least 8 games. I mean, we still have Octos and Squids United Scarlet versus Reef Runners on the 3rd place match, so anything can still happen over there. But these 8 teams collectively have put on a show this season, and this will be remembered for years to come within the CCA community.
Any person who has watched the CCA Division 2 very closely will remember that division as probably one of the more competitive divisions at the end. from especially with any set that goes 8 or 9 games consistently. Yes, Grand's finished in 7, but Grand's finished in 7 games plus. That still is a sign of how competitive things were. I think you and I would mostly agree, even though there were some dominant wins. I think it's safe to say that that 5-2 record definitely had some competitiveness within it, even if you look at the box score. So hey, if that third place matchup really wanted to continue the tradition of going 7 games or more, I mean, be my guest with that one. I'm sure both teams don't want to deal with that anymore at the end of the day. So I think DRF, this was a fun Division 2 playoff stage that we saw throughout. So I mean, so much kudos to everybody who played in Division 2 overall.
Yes, and actually one more shout out to the H-Town Rebels, because they, alongside Walk, become the first 2 teams to get into the playoffs via the wild card system and make it all the way to the division finals. So, I mean, we've only used the wild card system like twice, so, you know, there's not a whole lot of data to go off of, but it's still impressive nonetheless that H-Town was able to forge this path via a less traditional means. I mean, they, you know, had lost, I believe, their first 2 matches like 1-4, and they were able to win 4-0 in the rest of the season. Meanwhile, Smash Brothers was 4-1 the entire regular season, with the exception being their 1 loss to the Towson Tiger Sharks, who I believe they had lost to 0-4. So Smash Brothers actually kind of had a bit of an ugly loss there towards the end of the season. But I mean, bounced back and said, you know what? That's just keeping it interesting. You know, complete fluke. They came in their final form today.
Exactly. These 3 groups there, you're gonna have wildcard teams that punches in, and hey, if you're a team that made it finals, it's not. I guess the phrase I would love to use is not how you start, it's how you finish. There, and a grand finals appearance for sure is almost a cherry on top to that wild card set. So, to that wild card appearance rather. So, hey, much credit to H-Town Rebels throughout the season.
Yeah, but like you said, Smash Brothers is our Ultimate Division 2 champion. They are gonna be forging a new legacy for Binghamton University as a Splatoon school. I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. You are now a Splatoon school, Binghamton. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? Hey, just take it and run with it. If you get more people in future years, just keep on competing, and we would love to see you back.
Exactly. So I have a feeling that, like I said, this is just the start of something big for them. So congratulations to the Smash Brothers out of Binghamton University for winning today in the Division 2 Grand Finals. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up, Keone, as we will send ourselves into the rest of the week. There's a bunch more Grand Finals matches coming up this upcoming weekend. 6 more to be exact. We are still scheduling all of those out as we speak, but it's going to be quite the entertaining week here for Finals Week for CCA League Season 6. Keone, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so long since we've had the opportunity to do this together. I'm so excited we got the chance to.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad to do this one with you. By the way, you'll find me Blue Sky and Twitch, Keone25701. By the way, DRF, one big comment for us duo before you'll lead us off on the broadcast, or basically sign us off. It's very fitting that we basically end that one on a Rainmaker map that got very, very funny at the end of the day.
You know what? I totally did not think about that until I am so glad you brought that up. I know. The script was written from the start. We should have seen it coming. A crazy Rainmaker to close it off. Well, man, you can go ahead and find me DRF-Splatoon on Blue Sky, Triton DRF on Twitch, but as usual, you can find me right here on the CCA channel covering all things Collegiate Splatoon. Thank you all so much for joining us in a 7-game thriller. Congrats to Smash Brothers. We will see you all later this week for the rest of our Grand Finals matches.